Hello and welcome new pirates. Welcome to the ECU Live series as part of the ECU New Student Orientation. My name is Jamie Weiser and I am the intern for the Office of Student Transition. Today, our session will cover the Multicultural Student Experience at ECU. The session will be recorded and will be archived and available on the official ECU YouTube channel in a few days. In order to make sure that we are following accessibility guidelines, the archives recorded session will be closed captioned. If further accommodations are required, please contact the Office of Disability Services. We have an excellent group of pirates here today who are going to share their experiences with you. I'm going to start with a few general questions, and then we will open the floor for any questions that you all have. So first, if you all could start off, please, by introducing yourselves with your name, your positions on campus, where you're from, and why you chose to attend ECU.
I can start. Hi, I'm Liz, and I'm an ECU assistant for this summer. I don't know if you said major, but I'm just going to say my major is business marketing, and then I am from Charlotte, North Carolina. You said a fun fact. So a fun fact is that I have 6 kittens, or no, 6 cats, and I'm allergic to cats. Is there another one, Jamie?
Liz, if you also want to touch upon why you chose to attend ECU.
Okay, I chose ECU because it was a great environment whenever I toured there. I had toured other campuses and it really didn't feel like home to me. I like the diversity about the campus and just the feeling of it. Like it really felt like home, and the students were very interactive with me and they were all really nice. So that was a big difference compared to other colleges.
I can go next. My name is Daria Hudson. I am also an orientation assistant this summer. A fun fact about me, outside of ECU, I'm also a cheer coach, and it takes up a lot of my time, but I really enjoy it. And the reason I chose to go to ECU is because I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina, which is about an hour from ECU. And originally, I was looking for like a specific major, and ECU had it. A lot of their schools didn't offer that major. And then I ended up taking my first campus tour, and I just fell in love with the campus. Is like absolutely beautiful. I was telling somebody before, it was open house when I first saw campus, and the grass is extremely green in the spring, and the trees just, it's like an amazing view to have. And so, like I said, I fell in love with ECU's campus and was really excited to attend ECU in the fall after that. So that's my story.
I'm Felicia Bridges. I'm a staff counselor here at East Carolina University. So I'm not a student, but I'm here for support. I'm in that perspective as far as being a professional here. A fun fact about me, my favorite color is purple. So it was kind of like a win-win when I started working here, because I can always wear my favorite color. And I guess why I chose to work here, I was born and raised in Greenville, and then I went to Greensboro for undergrad and grad school. And so when I found my way working back east, I was like, I've always worked with college students, as far as in a counseling services setting. And I was just like, if I could just get on at ECU, that would be pretty amazing, because I just think that the undergrad population is just, everyone is so unique and so special. So it has been a pleasant experience while being here. There's nothing like being a pirate and being able to serve our students. So
Thank you all. And so the next question I have for you is, what were you nervous about before starting at ECU, whether it was studying here at ECU like Liz and Zaria, or working here like Felicia?
I'll go. We can just go in order. I was mostly worried about the distance because I live 4.5 hours away, so that's a long way for me to drive, but that was the only college that I knew that I would like do the best at, like be happy and be successful. So that was mostly my thing, and just being away from everybody that I know and like starting completely new. But it's also a great experience to have that, and be able to have that experience of starting new.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Liz. The biggest thing that I was nervous about was starting over. I grew up in Raleigh, and I've always had like a lot of friends, long-term friends especially. So the idea that I would go off to college and basically start all over with my friend group, because none of my friends came to ECU with me, was really nerve-wracking. I was extremely nervous that I would never make friends or find people who like really understood me. So that was what made me most nervous.
I would say prior to working at ECU, I've always worked at a community college. So I was really nervous about coming to the four-year institution. And if the student population was going to be different as far as community college students versus four-year institution students. So I think that's what I was most nervous about. And then it's like, are the students going to like me or, so I think that's and even though I was born and raised in Greenville, it still seemed like I was brand new to the campus, knew where nothing was. You would think that I did, but I had never really been on ECU's campus. So I felt very green. So I think that's what I was most nervous about, is making that transition to becoming a pirate.
And in your time here so far, how do you think that you've either overcome these various fears or have they come to fruition?
For me, I got involved with a lot of things on campus, to help make friends, and I was more sociable with the residence hall events that they would have, especially my second year, because my first year I wasn't as involved, but I would definitely say get involved. And that's mostly what helped me overcome those things. I mean, I can't really overcome the distance of driving, but I think the breaks and stuff helped.
Yeah, again, going off of Liz, I think it was really important for me to get involved to find friends, but also to look to people who were near me, because I made a lot of friends starting like right off the bat in my dorms and in my residence hall. And I thought that those friendships are the ones that really have stood the test of time through my 3 years at ECU. So I think that's kind of where I started with friends, and we all kind of went, okay, what clubs do you want to be in? And like we would all go to club meetings together. And now, we're a little more distant because we all kind of found our thing, our organization that really spoke to us. Or for me, it was my job. But that's like definitely where we started at. It was, here's the people that are around me, and we got really close and then spread from there.
Well, I work with a great staff, so they really just made me feel right at home. And also the students. I mean, it's just the students are just very warm and loving. And even when I see some of my clients in the student center, or in the rec, or just, walking around, it's like, hey, Miss Felicia, so I think that just was kind of my thumbs up, like, okay, I think I'm officially bleeding purple. Now everybody is just so nice and kind and friendly. So I think that makes a big difference. And that just kind of helped me get over the hump of being a newbie on campus.
And one common theme, it seems like, amongst all of you is getting involved and interacting with students has definitely made you feel more at home at ECU and has made your experience great. So what clubs and organizations or professional societies are you a part of, and how did you find out about them?
So my freshman year, I get involved with clubs like I should have. My sophomore year, I was the ECU ambassador for a little bit of time, but I can no longer do that for a time commitment issue. But I definitely do recommend ambassadors getting involved with that. And and then also I was a scholarship recipient of the ECU Works Program, so I met a lot of people through that, and I have one really good friend that I got out of that program, and then a lot of people from the dining hall since I worked there that I still talk to, as far as like the older ladies that work in the dining hall, which are really sweet. And then I'm also an orientation assistant, so I definitely say apply to that because you'll meet some great people doing that, and you'll also meet a lot of the incoming freshmen, which is really exciting because you get to see them on campus in the fall.
So for me, my involvements, they started with, like I said, the people in my residence hall. We kind of were like, oh, there's this one very large organization on campus, which is Black Student Union. And everybody was like, there's a Black Student Union meeting, or well, actually it was a showcase. They always do a showcase right at the beginning of the year to showcase some of those performance, like the performance organizations from the multicultural backgrounds and things like that. So that was the first interaction I had with Black Student Union, was that showcase, and it was absolutely amazing. So if you have an opportunity to go, I don't know how it will look this year, but if you ever have an opportunity to go to that showcase, I highly suggest it. And then I went to my first Black Student Union meeting, ended up joining that organization. I got involved in my residence hall, so I was an RHA for my hall, and then I ended up becoming a resident advisor my sophomore year and on, so I'm still RA now. What else? I'm involved in NDoubleACP as well, and then Student Affairs Explorers. So if you're interested in student affairs, they have a really great program for that. And I'm an orientation assistant. Wow, I almost forgot that. And then, of course, working orientation. And like Liz said, if you're interested, if you really enjoy orientation, it's a great place to meet a lot of people, meet a lot of student leaders on campus, and to get to know like the incoming freshmen. So, yeah.
Well, I definitely don't have the time or experience as these young ladies do as they're enjoying their college experience. But I'm still kind of new to the institution, but I've been able to hang out with Miss Maya Pittman, who's over our outreach programs in the counseling center. And I have been to several outreach events. One of the main events that I really enjoyed was a We Gather event, which was a dinner series for African American females on campus, regardless of what organizations they were a part of, to come together and discuss, the ups and downs of being a student at a PWI. I'm also a part of Let's Talk, and Let's Talk is basically a program where students can kind of drop in and speak with the clinician without having a appointment with the counseling center. So that's a great opportunity, so someone won't have to go through the process of actually get on a clinician's schedule. We provide Let's Talk so people can kind of, come in quickly and speak with the counselor about a particular issue, or just kind of do a check-in. I recently was given the opportunity to participate in the Student Affairs Writing Academy. So basically, I'll be able to work with other staff and professionals in student affairs in regards to enhancing our writing capabilities, as far as scholarly journals and making, presentations, submitting articles and things of that nature. So I'm getting my feet wet. It's plenty of opportunities definitely at ECU to grow as a student and as a professional.
My next question is more so geared towards leadership positions in your organizations and how they've contributed to your growth, but also what obstacles did you face, if any, as a person of color in these roles?
So I can talk about my leadership. The ones that I had, I didn't have any like with the first semester of ambassadors. And then with the ECU Works, there wasn't really any type of like leadership position you could hold with that. If you wanted to, you could get out of that scholarship the next year and become a manager in the position that you were in. But it would have been dining manager, so I just stuck with the scholarship and stayed on campus for an extra year. And then I also worked in a lock shop doing the computer work in there. As far as obstacles, I can't speak on that because I am not a person of color and I don't have the correct answer for that. So I'm gonna let these ladies do that for you.
And I definitely think this is a great place for you and me, Liz, to both learn a lot.
So for me, like I said, I'm a resident advisor. So, I mean, that's obviously a very large part of my leadership on campus because I'm involved in whatever's going on in my hall. I'm like all the events, the roommate stuff, anything. So I think that as a resident advisor, it's really helped me grow as a leader by really honing some of those like little skills, like learning how to read people, learning about like mediating situations, compromise, and things like that. I also think that it's really helped me like programming wise because prior to being an RA, I knew nothing about how events on campus went. I knew nothing at all. Honestly, I was just like, there's a really cool event and I should go. Now I can kind of see that background of how do you figure out, you know, how much money we can spend, how do you make the most of that money, and then how do you get students really engaged to come to those programs. And like Liz said before, she was one of my residents. She has been one of the residents in my buildings in the past. So I guess we must do at least a half decent job with our events, since she seems to come. She always came to a lot of them. So I think that was one way that I really, that being an RA has really helped me leadership wise. And I think as a person of color in leadership positions, I don't know, I think it can be a rough road because you want to feel like you're being chosen for those positions for the right reasons. Sometimes it can be kind of hard. Like, for example, as an RA, sometimes I'm like, you know, maybe why were you chosen? But I think one thing that has really stuck out to me is when I was a resident, there were 3 other Black RAs in my building, and I really wanted to be that for somebody else, to see that there are people who look like me on campus and they are on leadership roles. So I think that was, I guess that's how being a person of color has really pushed my leadership on campus.
I definitely think that's a loaded question. I think my biggest challenge has been, especially with the current climate in our society, is making sure during a session that my own personal beliefs or feelings don't bleed into what my client is dealing with, especially when I am working with a client that is African American or Black. So I think I've really had to, you know, work at knowing my boundaries and really every morning checking, you know, my temperature and saying, okay, where are you with everything? I'm happy to say that now we have several clinicians that are of color in our center, and I believe that the counseling center is really working hard to make sure that our clinicians reflect our student population. I think another challenge is letting our students of color know that addressing your mental health is okay and it's not taboo and it is a safe place. That it has not always been the case or the understanding, but I do believe that that conversation is changing on our campus. So I would say that that's kind of the challenge that I kind of, you know, run into. I think we have a very supportive and open staff. But it's more so making sure that our students feel as though they have a safe place to come to process or work through their, barriers, challenges, or how they're perceiving things or are taking place, or addressing their own personal experiences or traumas.
Thank you. So this next question is going to be a little bit of a two-part question. So the first question is, what do you think has been the biggest challenge for you as a person of color at a predominantly white institution? And for those who are not familiar with what a predominantly white institution classification is, that means that 50% or more of your student body is a white student. But then the second part of my question is, how would you explain where you feel are your safe spaces on campus? Like, yes, there are definitely going to be a lot of challenges, but what are your safe spaces that when you go there, you definitely feel comfortable?
So for me, I think one of the challenges of being a student of color on the campus of like a PWI campus is seeing people who look like me every single day. Like sometimes it can be hard. You're walking down the middle of the mall and you realize like I haven't seen a Black student in a while, and it's not because they're not there. Sometimes it's just because like just that moment. But being like knowing that sometimes you're not going to see that, and it can be hard to feel represented sometimes on campus. And I think the good thing about that is that ECU has made a lot of leaps and bounds towards making sure that students feel represented in leadership roles, that you can see people who look like you on campus, like around campus. And sometimes that does come into the classroom where you may sit down in the classroom. I know for me, I was in a relatively small major for a while, and there were maybe 2 other Black students and feeling kind of lonely. But I think, like I said, ECU is making a lot of leaps and bounds towards, moving away from just feeling alone, but you feeling represented on campus. And I forgot what the second part of the question was. Can you repeat that for me, Jamie?
Yes, absolutely. The next part are what would you consider your safe spaces on campus?
I think for me, like I said, I started off in Black Student Union, and that was a really comfortable space for me because each week, every Wednesday, they have their meetings, and in their meetings, they talk about topics that really pertain to their community, to the Black community. It is open to anybody, so you don't have to be a Black student to be in BSU, but feeling like you have those communities and you can talk about things that really relate to you as a person or things that are going on in the Black community. It was a really comfortable space, I felt like, for me. And just to sometimes hear other people's opinions, because just because we're all, Black students, we don't all have the same opinion on every topic. And being able to see that all in a classroom was like a great thing for me, I felt like.
Can you repeat the first part of the question?
Yes. So the first part of the question is, what do you feel has been the biggest challenge or challenges for you as a person of color at a predominantly white institution?
I would say it's not enough staff or faculty, in my opinion, that are people of color. And so, and mind you, I have not been here very long, but this is just off of my own personal experience and observation. And so it's kind of like it's more work to be done than there is hands to get done, And so I see that so many of our students need support or need role models or need mentors or need someone that looks like them in various areas on campus. And I just think that we could definitely use more staff and faculty that, reflect our population. But I believe that the individuals that are on campus, we work very well together, and I believe we do our best to support our students of color on campus from what I've seen, thus far. A safe place on campus, I would definitely say would be my fellow colleagues. Just meeting people that are not afraid to kind of show you the ropes, I'm telling you, like the first or second week that I was here, I can't tell you how many emails I received welcoming me to campus, especially from my colleagues, my Black colleagues, African American colleagues, you know, just saying, welcome, if we could do anything to support you, here's my information. And that was just that helped me start my network, because the more people I have in my network, the more resources I have to point my students in, and it's all about resources. We also have an organization on campus called Organizations of African American Staff, and they have luncheons throughout the semester, and that is a way for staff members of color to get together and kind of communicate and network, and that is a safe place as well.
Thank you. And that leads me into my next question that I feel all of you will be able to tap into is, can you explain a little bit about the importance of networking and developing your personal and professional network in college, whether it's, again, as an employee or as a student?
I think for me, networking is really helpful because a lot of the jobs, like especially with me having the scholarship, I was able to go back to that job. I'm able to go back there in the fall and not be within that scholarship, but actually get paid hourly instead. So if I didn't have that, then I wouldn't be able to be with the campus living in that lock shop. So definitely that. And then also, if you are an OA, the people there will definitely write you a resume or do anything that they can for you in order to help you be successful, because that's what they want. Like, they're the best people and the best team to work with. I'll also say your professors, they're definitely, if you try to get to know them, even if you are in a large classroom or if you are virtual, if you send them an email and be like, hey, like, what's your favorite candy? And you bring that to them one day, or you're just wanting to be not vulnerable to them, but that they show that you are actually trying to learn and want to know them more, they'll do the same back, hopefully. I've had good connections with them, and yeah, and then also I know, like Zaria was saying, with that Black Student Union and SGA and different organizations that do have that African American leadership, they will also help you out with those references, especially like fraternities and sororities, because there are Black fraternities and sororities that will also help in that situation.
Yeah, going off of what Liz said, I think finding those people to network with is really important, because you don't want your network to be basically just you saying, oh, I've met this person before, let me go to them for something. You really want to make sure that you're building connection with the people that you're networking with. So like she said, the orientation office, I feel like after this summer, I've really made a connection with all of the people there, and I'll continue that connection so that, I mean, not just so that for networking, but it will help a lot with networking and things like that. And when you need help getting jobs or grad school or anything like that, Jamie's been really helpful thinking about grad schools. So things like that are extremely helpful to you as a student, and it's really important to jumpstart that early, because if you're making those connections early, you don't know how many you could make. I was kind of like Liz early on. I was not very involved on campus. I mean, I had my few clubs, like I said, Black Student Union and things like that, but I was not very involved initially. And once I started, I realized I was like, I should have been doing this from the beginning, because you meet so many people, and people have so many backgrounds. And pretty much if you're getting to know a lot of people, then you give yourself the opportunity to get help in almost any area. So that's why I think networking is really important, starting off your freshman year right from the beginning, the first day, hit the ground running.
All of my clients will tell you I like to use analogies. So I would look at it like building a house, and freshman year is when you start building that solid foundation. or whatever year you transfer into the school if you're a transfer student. And just like when you build a house, you know, you have carpenters, you have someone to come in and do the plumbing, you have someone to be the electrician. Everyone comes in to do, you know, a different role to help you establish that house. And hopefully by the end of your senior year, you can say you have a very sturdy house. And unfortunately, I always run into my seniors. They're like, oh, I wish I would have done this or met this person back. Oh, what was that professor's name? You know, when they could have been working on building that house freshman year. And I know it can be very intimidating to speak to your professor, like Liz said, but it is so worth it. Like Zaria also stated, go to that program. Go to that event, even if you have to write on a note card the questions you're going to ask. Go and do it afraid, because I believe that there is a big difference between your friend circle and your network. I believe it's a very big difference, and sometimes people usually let those bleed together, and they're not the same, especially when it's time to apply for an internship or scholarship or a job. So keep that in mind as well, and just look at it as you're building a house and you want to start freshman year. Especially to my introverts, it's usually a little bit harder for introverts to start that process of networking, but find a buddy that lives on your hall with you freshman year and say, we're just going to go to this event together and eat their food and make a pact to meet at least 2 people apiece. And then 2 people apiece equals 4 people together. And you guys have met 4 people. You have to kind of look at it that way, because it can be very intimidating. First of all, coming to college, 1, and then 2, let alone asking for someone's business card or information. So don't be afraid to build your house. It's basically what I would leave you with.
I would definitely say 100% everything that you all said, I echo, and you definitely want to build those networks because that's what's going to help you be successful. And again, it's making sure that you're building and not only building those relationships, but also the most important part is maintaining them. I would also say a common theme that's like amongst all of the different things that you all were talking about in terms of networking is you wanted to feel included as well as you wanted to include others in your network. And I think inclusion is definitely a very important term in general. So how would you say that you practice inclusion, or how at times do you wish that others did include you, whether it's just as a student or a staff member, or more importantly, as a person of color?
So being at ECU, I have seen that we do not have many, I can't even say that I've had a Black professor, which is something that I wish would change for everybody, because like to me that's not fair. And I have a lot of friends that are Black and they are a person of color and they have different backgrounds than I do, but it's a thing of accepting that and trying to, and I've gone into their groups because I want to be a part of knowing about their culture, their background, because that's what I find important to me. I know my background, I know how other people can act, but to me, I wanted to see, like in my accounting class, I have 3 really good friends and we always hang out together. It doesn't have to be like on campus, you can go to their apartment, you can hang out, but it's just the thing of trying, for me, I'm not going to have the same answer as Zaria and Miss Felicia will, but I think for me, it's going out of my box as a white female and trying to make sure that I understand other people, because that's one thing that you do have to understand when you come to college. Like, you're not going to be the same as everybody else, and you want to make sure that you're involved with not only your race but other people's race, because that's how the world should go around. But yeah.
I think for me, I'll speak from a residence life standpoint, because I think inclusion, like diversity and inclusion, is something that is very much pushed, and there's really a difference between the two, because diversity is, oh, I'm seeing these people on campus, but inclusion is they're still there in my spaces. I'm like really getting to know these people. So from a residence life standpoint, I'll say that ECU does a very good job of first making representation important. Like I said, as an RA, I saw Black students in front of me, people who looked like me, but also people who of other ethnic in those leadership positions as an RA, but taking it a step further, making it not mandatory, but really pushing programs of inclusion. So one program that one of my staff members put on, and that all of us were really involved in, was this thing called a privilege walk, where basically we invited students to come down and they asked various questions, and everybody had their eyes closed, and you step forward if the question applied to you, or step back if it didn't, and things like that. And then at the end, opening your eyes and looking around and being like, oh my gosh, here are the people who live different lives than me. And even though we're all very different, we're all here at ECU. And I thought that that was really important to include in our programming, because then you're seeing everybody is different. Even if we are of the same race, we are completely different. And being able to see that and experience that as a whole was really important to our staff that year. So I think, like I said, from residence life, I think inclusion is really pushed on campus.
And to just kind of piggyback off of what Zaria was saying, I think having events or programming consistently year round, and not just around a holiday or a tragic event that happens in the news, but to make an intentional effort to intertwine all of our cultures together. And it's not just because it's Black History Month or Martin Luther King's birthday. And to also ask for input. I mean, how many times do we really ask students, what are your needs? What would make you feel more included or accepted on our campus? I feel as though the student is the customer. It's a business to me. And how do you know unless you ask the customer, what do they need and how can we meet that need, rather than assume that we know? Because it doesn't make sense if the people that are making the decisions are not African American, but they're making the decisions to do programming for, African, they're doing the best they possibly can. But I just feel as though if we could just bring everyone to the table rather than certain individuals, and have it be a collective effort and say, this is what ECU, this is what reflects the students of ECU collectively as a whole from August to May, or even through the summer. And not just because something happened, and if we don't address it, we're going to be the elephant in the room. So I might as well address it now, So I think just asking those questions and initiating the conversation even before a particular event or holiday or et cetera comes along.
That definitely fits very well with something that I even learned in my graduate school program. We had to take a diversity course in this spring. And one thing our professor definitely noted, they're like, it should not have to be where you're tapping into the experiences of the Black students in your classroom when it's coming time for these issues. It's you educating yourself, and it's making sure that, again, like you said, being proactive in educating yourself and how you can truly assist your other classmates, because it should not have to be whether it's like a Black issue and you're speaking to the Black students, or if it's a religious issue, it should not be that person for that religion having to be the spokesperson all the time. And I think that's something that's definitely very important. One thing that we did recently as orientation assistant team is that we had a contest for new students to participate in, and they were supposed to tell us how they are going to promote social justice on our campus. So I wanted to hear from all of you, how do you currently promote social justice on campus, or how do you plan to for this upcoming academic year?
For me, I'm not in any clubs or organizations that revolve around promoting social justice, but I do try to include all of my friends together of other ethnic backgrounds. I'm not trying to be seclude anybody. I think probably a main thing is educating everybody and having other people not having a Black person educate a white person. I think that it should be them trying to search out that information themselves, because it's, in the times that we are now, it's just not how that should be. And I think that promoting that would just be not necessarily on social media, but going out on campus and promoting that and showing people how everybody should be treated. And I think definitely on a PWI campus that needs to be done.
So one thing that I'm involved in, so like I said, I'm a member of NDoubleACP on campus, and they take a very active role in social justice and promoting that on campus, and not just being like one sole organization, but standing with other organizations to do that. So an event that they hold at the beginning of every year I've been at ECU. I don't know exactly when it started, but I really love the event, is the Unity March, and it's at the beginning of the school year. And basically it's a peaceful protest, and they march from Center Campus up College Hill, and they do chants, and it's really amazing because what it's supposed to show is we all stand together in unity as one campus, and we support one another. So the Unity March has been like a really great way to be involved, and not just be like a student of color. Like, it can literally be anybody. Like I said, it's called a Unity March because they want everybody involved. So that's one way. And then another is using those organizations. I really appreciate how a lot of the organizations try to have open lines of communication. So one thing that NAACP also did this year was I hate to say that it was about a certain holiday. It was, but it's specifically because in the past there's been student experiences, like specific experiences centered around Halloween on ECU's campus. So the NAACP held an event, and they invited ECU police officers to come in and have an open communication about the police's presence on campus, and really really asking those hard questions, because they were very open in saying, the officers and the leaders of the meeting were very open in saying, hey, if you have a hard question, ask them, because this is the perfect time to do it, because this is a safe space. This is the time to ask those hard questions and to really feel like speaking to somebody and they can understand you, instead of always feeling like you're shut out from those conversations. So those are two ways that have really benefited me in like being active in social justice.
I definitely think it's important, Zaria, what you said basically is that somebody else's culture is not your costume. And I think that's definitely a very important theme to think of now, and especially when it comes time for Halloween. And I will be teaching a first-year class at my home institution this year, and that's definitely something that I have planned for the week of Halloween, because I think just educating people proactively is so important.
I would say, from a personal, as far as a goal of mine, is to just be present on campus. It's really hard as a clinician, due to the volume of students that we see, for us to really be able to get out of the office a lot, but to just really try to be present at various events, so our students, especially our African American students, can know that they have support, especially from a mental health standpoint. And I think presence means the world, especially when you may have individuals that don't come from a traditional home, or may not have, the support that other individuals, may have, to just know that you have someone in your corner that's supporting your event or your pageant, or whatever you have going on. I think it's, to me, when I was an undergrad, it was those individuals, those staff and faculty that were present, that I remember them being there. I know from a clinical standpoint, we are getting ready to have, prepare our groups for the fall, and those groups are going to reflect some groups to support students of color and events. And Maya does a great job, as well as providing outreach opportunities that I know that we will support her in that way. So we're moving and shaking and doing our very best to just kind of be supportive of our entire student population.
I think it definitely means a lot that each of you are mentors, whether it's to new students that you're meeting through orientation and your different involvements, or with your clients that you get to see for your various meetings. So what does it mean to be a mentor? And who is one of your mentors that you have either on campus or in your professional network? And how have they supported you? I know that's 3 parts, so if you need me to repeat any of them when you're going, just let me know.
Was the mentor part?
Yes, the first part is, what does it mean to you to be a mentor? And then if you want to speak about one of your mentors and how they've supported you.
Okay. So what it is to be a mentor to me is to support somebody else who may be younger. I mean, they can even be older than you, but that is there for you in your time of need, or if you need any advice. My mentor, I have one for our OA group, and that is Lauren. I've gone to her for multiple questions, and I've also gone to some other OAs that are more experienced than I am for certain questions that I may not know the answer to, and they have helped me along with that, like a mentor should. So I would say the one that you can go to for advice if you have any questions, and one that will stick up for you in your time of need.
Yeah, I was also going to mention my orientation mentor. So I have a student mentor, of course, Shila, who is a second year OA, and she's been really amazing because me and Shila kind of knew each other before she was like assigned to be my mentor, and we've kind of gotten to know each other well this year. So looking to her for like a lot of advice has been really helpful. So I guess the first part of the question would be like, for me, a mentor means somebody that you can really go to who can give you some open, honest advice. Um, Also, just them just being able to be there for you, someone who can just check in on you and who you can also check in on, just to make sure that you have somebody who's there to support you in any way, you know, not your mentor. I guess sometimes it could be a friend, but also like in professional setting, you know, having somebody who you can really get good professional advice from is important. I also have like another person who has been kind of mentoring me, helping me out with student affairs. It's been Jamie, and then I have another person here at home who's really been supporting me in trying to figure out like what I want to do with the rest of my life. So that's been very helpful. And is there another part?
You covered it all. You're great.
All right, then that's it.
My definition of a mentor is someone that doesn't mind showing me the way, and is not trying to make me into a mini me of them, but they are trying to help cultivate the gifts that I already possess that I might not even be aware of. I really believe that iron sharpens iron, and so I believe a mentor holds you accountable. Um, they see the best in you when you don't see anything at all, and they're there to celebrate you, and they're also there to correct you at times as well. But I think they also see you in the future, and not necessarily where you are at that present moment. If I were to say I had a mentor at the institution, it would be Mr. Darrence Hughes. He is the associate director of the center, and he has just really taken me under his wing as far as teaching me so much as a clinician in a university setting. And anytime I have a question about a diagnosis, a theory, a student, a note, or anything, he is right there to help, walk me through it. Not tell me how to do it, but, show me the resources. And he is constantly pushing me to become a better staff counselor at the institution. So he never makes me feel intimidated, or I'm just always like eager to learn with him. So I would say he's my mentor here on campus.
So the last question I have for all of you is, knowing what you do now, whether in a student capacity or as a staff member, what is one piece of advice that you would offer your younger self?
Can you repeat the last part? I didn't hear you.
Yes. Knowing what you do now, what would be one piece of advice you would offer your younger self?
Okay.
So in this case, it would be your freshman version of Liz.
Could be my sophomore version, but that's fine. I would say get involved and try to get to know your surroundings and other people. Don't just seclude yourself to one group. I have multiple groups of friends for multiple different things. I'm not things, and that's okay. Just to have different people that you can go to and different resources is definitely what I would advise.
I think my one piece of advice, and I think as a like this summer through orientation, I've probably said this a lot, but change is a good thing and it's coming, and like there's no stopping it. I think that that's my biggest piece of advice because, like I said, I came in to college and I was focused on this one major and I was like, this is where I'm going and that's it. And in the end, I ended up changing for the better. Like my whole stance, my major, my everything about myself. And I think that that is something that has really like driven the way that I've interacted with people in college, the way that I meet people, and even just the things that I've done. So change is like inevitable. And sometimes you just have to roll with it and be okay with those changes. So, yeah.
I would say don't be afraid, don't doubt yourself, and just do it. Even if you just do it one time, because you'll have the woulda, coulda, shouldas, and then senior year it's time to graduate, and you're like, oh my God, I should have done so many other things. But we tend to think about what other people are going to say, or if we're going to fail, or nerves get to you. Except just do it. If it's in your heart to give it a try, I say just give it a try. And don't fall under the pressure of people at home, because sometimes parents have their own plan for you. And when you get to school and you're exposed to so many different opportunities and people, as Zaria said, you begin to change like that caterpillar. And sometimes you're like, whoa, what is going on inside of me? I've always wanted to be a speech pathologist. Why do I want to do nursing? And just embrace everything that's going on around you, and don't fold under the pressure of being the person that other people want you to be. Take that journey of being your true self. If I could say anything, I changed my major and my parents almost had a conniption, but I'm okay now. We're okay. I turned out okay, but I was so worried about fitting that mold, or, some people have the pressure of being the first generation, the first student to graduate, being a transfer student, facing so many different barriers. What are people at home are going to say? But this is your journey. Embrace it and just give it a try. And trust me, there's somebody else that's just as scared as you are. But that will be my little couple of pieces of advice.
And like Felicia said, instead of trying to fit into a mold, create your own throughout these next 4 years. So thank you so much for joining us today. As a reminder, the session has been recorded and an archived copy of this recording will be available on the official ECU YouTube channel as soon as we are able to close caption this session. And we hope that you'll be joining us tomorrow for our Dean of Students Day. It will be starting early in the morning and going for 4 or 5 different sessions throughout the day. Thank you very much.